exactly what the timeline is on these particular corrective surgeries. I had heard 4 to 6 weeks, somewhere in that region, but there's, 2 months left to the season? I don't think you have Shaedon Sharpe have corrective surgery, rehab, come back, and, play the first week of April. I don't know if I see that happening. So, what does that mean for the Blazers? What does that mean for tomorrow? Does that mean Malcolm Brogdon becomes a little more valuable in terms of having another piece in the backcourt with now Shaedon gone for a significant amount of time? Or does that not even matter? Because we're all kind of guessing right now. 2 years ago, it was a fairly easy prediction, right? It was a fairly easy prediction that right around New Year's, this Blazer team was kaput. A month earlier, Neil O'Shea had gotten fired. Dame was a mess. COVID was running roughshod through the team, and the Lakers were dancing on that season's grave on New Year's Eve. I remember very vividly. And Joe Cronin finally said, pull the plug. Dame went for surgery. CJ got traded away. Gone were Covington and Powell. And all of a sudden, it's like, all right. Ant got, plantar fasciitis? Or no, Nurk. Nurk got plantar fasciitis. Ant got a right knee soreness that lasted for 3 months. And every player that could make a bucket got shut down. But that was an easy call. It was like, all right, got to do it. Pull the plug on the season. Then last year, it lasted a little bit longer. Right? It wasn't right around New Year's. It was more trade deadline, February, this particular time. And then all of a sudden, Dame got the worst calf injury in the history of calf injuries. Traded away Josh Hart, traded away GP2. Ant got shut down. And Shaedon was the only one in the mix that was, and then tank away that season. Blazers currently are 15-35. Shaedon's out of the backcourt. Trade deadline is tomorrow. Which way do the Blazers go? Do they keep Brogdon at $22.5 million for the rest of a lost season? Do they clearly are going to shop him, because if there is some drunk GM out there, I say it like basketball drunk, if there's some drunk GM out there going like 2 firsts, and you're like, sorry, Malcolm, best of luck. I don't know if that's the market. Don't know, but I think the market is going to dictate. But I don't know if Shaedon's injury affects maybe what happens tomorrow. Brenden, you think it does a little bit. You said it in the world famous but not broadcast pre-show meeting. It's world famous because you would be shocked at the things we talk about in that thing. I don't know if it matters because, and maybe it's because I just look at Joe Cronin as Captain Tank a lot, right? What do I know of Joe Cronin? Loves draft picks, likes to tank. Maybe he doesn't like it, but is not afraid to. Not afraid to tank. Done it twice. I'll do it a third. And you're 15-35 right now. What is the value and the benefit? Now, again, if the market's not there, don't sell Malcolm Brogdon off pennies on the dollar. I get that. Don't make a bad trade. Understood. If there is a mediocre trade to be had, what's the value of keeping Brogdon around, other than the fact that he seems to have built up a relationship with Scoot Henderson? Other than that, this season's they're 15-35. They're not going to do anything of significance of this season. And it's not that I like this. It's the way the NBA has set up the whole game. The NBA has set up the game to where if you are a mid to small market team and you are not in a playoff run, you are benefiting by losing games. That's the system that they created. I hate it. I don't know how you fix it, right? No complaining without a solution. We started saying that on this show years ago. That's kind of gone a little bit by the wayside. I was real adamant about that. It's like, no criticism without a solution. And we changed our mind. But that's the system that we live in. I hate the tanking. Problem with tanking is it works. You know what I mean? That's the problem. So I don't know. I'm fascinated to see, but I think if you see Malcolm Brogdon being traded away tomorrow for futures, for picks, for a salary dump, for something, Brenden, I think we see a lot of guys getting injured. And I think we see a lot of the Rip City Remix playing Rip City Blazer basketball. Now, if they don't, I don't know. I'm going to be fascinated. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen? Because I don't want to put I don't want to put too much into tomorrow.
Yeah, I think.
But if Brogdon stays, then it's kind of like as is status quo, right?
Yeah, I don't think that. My gut right now tells me they're not going to do anything, and that's only because it sounds like, Justin, there's not a couple things that were a bit interesting in my my deep dive into this yesterday. Was one, and I'm curious, who knows if the Blazers feel this way, but the general consensus from sources is that nobody is excited about this draft at all.
Yeah.
Nobody's excited about this draft.
There's a 7'3" French guy out there. It ain't Wemby, but
yeah. So that's a part of it. And then the second part of it is, it sounds like the teams that have assets, maybe the Knicks, maybe trying to think who else we mentioned.
Lakers. Maybe Philadelphia.
Yeah. They're like,
maybe Orlando.
Some of it was thrown out yesterday that they're like, are the guys on the market right now true needle movers? And would those and is it worth it to give up draft picks for potentially guys that would make you marginally better?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it sounds like a lot of those teams were kicking the tires like, does Malcolm Brogdon push us over the top? And I don't know. We've seen him on a tanking team this year, right? So,
but he's also what? 9 months away from being sixth man of the year.
Yeah. So
it's not like he forgot, I don't know. I think there was a chance.
2 years removed from 21 points a game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Shooting almost 40% from three.
That's pretty good. Like you said, he's a pro's pro. But this whole Shaedon thing makes it interesting. But again, to know where the Blazers are is to have to get into old Joe Cronin's head. And if Cronin is looking ahead at a season, right, and you mentioned it a handful of times, and you just look at it on paper, the remaining schedule. So right now at 35-15, the Blazers have 32 games left in the season. They got a lot of games against playoff teams, right? They got 2 games against Minnesota. Denver's on there. Heat. They got Oklahoma City. Memphis is tanking. So 3 games against Minnesota. Boy, they just backloaded Minnesota, the number 1 team in the West right now. You've got a road trip featuring, and this is late March, Houston, Atlanta, Miami, Orlando, Charlotte, and Washington stink, but then the Celtics, right? I think if you're looking ahead at that schedule, you're like, boy, we could get around 5-6 wins the rest of the way. If Shaedon goes, you trade away Shaedon gets shut down for the season, you trade away Brogdon. Now, again, here's the other part of this. Because I have been throwing this out there, and I don't know if I've gotten a really good answer, which is, what is the development of Scoot Henderson that we need? All I hear on the old X is, it's about development. It's about how? How is it? Does Scoot, in a month and a half of tanking, playing with a bunch of G League guys, help his development to potentially be the face of this franchise, which is why you drafted him. It's why you drafted him at 3. You didn't need him when you drafted him. You drafted him to become the future face of this franchise. That's why you drafted a guy who played Dame's position. That's why the Green Bay Packers drafted Aaron Rodgers all those years ago. It wasn't just to sit back and be a really good backup, right? That's why you drafted him. So if he's ultimately going to be your best player, which he needs to be, if he's going to be the future face of this franchise, does playing with a bunch of G League guys for a month and a half, like, what do you do with Aiden the rest of the way? Do you shut him down? I'm getting sick of this shutdown stuff. Oh, man. But the injury bug once again. I'm curious. Brenden, you follow the league. I watch the NBA on TNT because I still have cable. More on that in a moment.
I do dabble in 2K.
But paying attention to the actual the games, and it feels like, and now maybe because I just watched the Blazers in a bubble, it feels like the Blazers have been injury riddled more than other teams this year. Is that just because I watched them more? But it feels like just when some wheels start running, it's like, ugh.
No team in the NBA has been more injured than the Memphis Grizzlies, perhaps in the history of the NBA, and that's been proven this year. But yes, it's close.
Other than Memphis.
Yeah, Memphis.
But it feels
Justin, they had, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Memphis has 2 starters out season. That's catastrophic, obviously. Blazers with
1 now.
They traded Stephen
A. Yeah.
Right, traded Stephen Evans.
Yep.
But Blazers haven't had anybody out for the season other than Robert Williams, and he never really got going.
Yeah. No.
So other than Robert Williams, the Blazers haven't had anybody that's been out for the season, but it's just been nagging after nag. Like, Ant missed 2 weeks, got sick. Don't know. It was going around, and then got sick again, right? And then Scoot had an ankle injury, and then 2 weeks there. Brogdon, in, out, snip, snap, right? That's what it kind of feels like. DeAndre Ayton got the tendonitis and is like, he was out for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Just feels like every time there's some mojo going, as like, injuries. And for obvious reasons, because this year is what it is, Blazers being very, very cautious. All right. Big news in the sports media world yesterday. Big, potentially humongous news. We joked yesterday about what's going to be the thing in the future that we don't even know is coming, that is going to change the way we consume sports, which what we love. Well, we may have gotten a bit of a hint yesterday. Are you ready for sports solely on your phone? Are we ready for sports solely on the smart TV? Talk about that next here on 620 Rip City Radio. I've realized as we've added more and more music, and Brendan's finding the sweet spot of like, watch. I feel like your goal on like adding a new intro music, and again, old school rule of radio, you're not supposed to talk about the intro music, but I've broken every other rule of old school radio, so I might as well keep breaking them now. Every old boss of mine would be having a heart attack at the job at the show that I do right now, which is why I love Rip City Radio, which is why I love the people at iHeart. I love my bosses now. It's like, yeah, go ahead, do it, Justin. Show up on time with a good attitude, good energy. You talk about the music. But I feel like you have a goal of like, if it's a new song, can I get Justin to do a little jig? To do just a little shimmy before I crack the microphone. And again, for somebody that was on TV for 4 years, doing the bridge and, did radio shows on TV, should be more aware of the camera on YouTube TV. I've we're not YouTube TV. We're on YouTube. And go to the Rip City Radio page. Watch us on YouTube. It's the same show, but like, I've gotten some text messages from friends going like, you were really feeling this one, weren't you? I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. My entire life doing radio. Only worry about the hot air that comes out of my mouth. Never really worried about the dancing. And it's like, I was getting jiggy with it. I'm sorry. I separate art from artist. That's Big Willie style. That's not that jerk Will Smith that slapped Chris Rock. That's Big Willie style. That's the Fresh Prince. Different guy, separate art from artist. And I was getting jiggy with it a little bit. So, tip of the cap, Brenden. You got me. You got me grooving on that one.
That's the plan, baby.
Stay right in my little lane. Let's just getting jiggy with it. All right, so I am what the kids call, what is it? What did they call it? Oh, out of touch. That's right. That's what they call it, out of touch. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm 44 years old. I have embraced middle-aged. I do not have children of my own, so I am always kind of taken aback or taken by surprise when, like, certain things that I just consider to be common knowledge are lost to the universe, right? Brenden has young siblings. He understands, like, oh, yeah, this thing they don't know what cassette tapes are. And
see, now, Justin,
I'm shocked that anyone would, like, there are people in this world voting who've never used a cassette tape.
Yeah,
no idea what it is.
Now, with that, Justin, there are two things I have to mention right off the bat. One, you're absolutely true, but two,
that
it's
I'm
like,
out of touch.
Well, no, just that A, time flies, and then B, going off your point, makes me kind of feel old myself because everything you said is true, but my youngest sibling is almost 16, so it's like, it's kind of crazy to realize, like you said, how long cassette tapes haven't been around.
Cassette tapes are
how long? Like, yes, kids, there used to be a phone attached to a wall.
Phone
like we had
on the wall,
home phones,
and DVDs and CDs. Like, those are gone. I remember, I don't know if it was last Christmas or the Christmas before, because my nephews, they are super into video games, and like show up for Christmas. They're like, yeah, we got the Star Wars video game for, I don't know, Xbox or something. And I'm like, why aren't you playing it? And they're like, yeah, it's got to download. And I'm like, what do you mean? You plug the cartridge in, or you hit the CD, and you just play. They're like, yeah. It's all in a cloud, dude. Like, get with it, Uncle Justin. Figure it out. So, that being said, I wonder, with this new streaming deal that's going on and changing the potential way that we consume sports, in about 15 years, Brenden, is anybody going to know what a remote control is? I'm holding it right here in my hand, right? Is anybody going to know what a remote or even a remote control with anything other than volume up, volume down power? Because an input, right?
You'll soon there'll be an app you can do it from your phone if there isn't already.
That's what I'm going to say, right? It's like I have my entire life of entertainment is based around this particular device. It's in my left hand right now. The remote control. Family fights over the remote control. Who's in charge? Where is the remote? We need batteries for the remote. Don't touch the remote, right? The remote control or the clicker, as my friend's dad used to call it. Where's the clicker? And all of like, are we done with this? Here's why I bring it up. There was a big announcement that came out yesterday. Now, Brenden, you did a deep dive on this. You probably know more than I do, but let me give the what I believe is the nuts and bolts is that on either Hulu, ESPN Plus, Max, and Disney Plus, going into the future, Justin? Yeah, the future. 4 different sports with Fox and like 11 different channels, so like ESPN, ESPN2, Fox, Fox Sports 1, all of those, all going to be in one centralized location at one centralized part. They did it. They got sports into one. They reinvented cable, kind of, but they put it in the cloud. It's not the cloud. It's out into they put it into the Wi-Fi, and they made it sports, and they put all the sports into one spot. And is this going to be the way that we watch sports now moving forward? This is fascinating to me.
Yeah, this, again, Justin will tell you, I was giddy talking about this. This is something that has me
You're way more excited than I am.
Yeah, it has me excited because
I fear change.
Like right now, for example, I'll just use my example, right, Justin? So as you know, I cut the cord about a year ago. Been with Fubo. Love having Fubo because it's got Pac-12, it's got the Blazers, everything I need, Justin. But it's missing the Turner collection of networks. So you don't have
no NBA on TNT.
TNT.
How are
you
you going to watch Law and Order, SVU, old episodes?
I was thinking more March Madness. Come March.
Yeah, that's probably pretty good too. More than Olivia Benson.
But so when I look at this and I see it will include ESPN, ESPN Plus, 2U, SEC Network, and then ABC, AACC, TNT, TBS. Like the fact that it is every single sports channel. Mm-hmm. It got all
of them.
All the buddies in a room. And then they make it easy, and you're like, well, most people subscribe to Disney Plus, Hulu, or Max. One of those 3 options, you can just bundle it. It's like progressive, Justin. Just get a bundle. Just bundle it, baby.
It's cable.
Which you're not entirely wrong, but
it is, but it isn't. I've made this joke over and over and over again because I saw this coming. I did. I saw it coming a long time ago. I was like, everybody's going to start cutting the cord and realizing that, once it got to be 4 apps, right, when it was just Netflix and like Hulu, and that was it. But once it got to like 4 and 5, and I think like there's Apple TV Plus, and then there's Disney Plus, and like I was like, you watch. There's a reason why bottled water exists in our world. Brenden, you know why bottled water exists in our world?
Because not as many places in this great United States have an awesome tap water like Oregon.
Okay, we have tap water here, but bottled water still exists here. And do you know why? Because it's convenient.
Yeah.
It's convenient.
We're hydros here in the PNW.
You go to the store.
I don't want to see your plastic water bottle.
Well, I drink coffee.
What is this, Justin?
I drink coffee.
A hydro flask.
But bottled water exists. And it was a joke when I was a kid. It's like, bottled water's free. You drink it out of the hose, right? Bottled water exists.
Out of the hose? God, you're the generation of the hose, man.
Heck yeah. Out of PVC pipes at football practice.
My parents are like, yeah, we just used to get drinks out of the hose when we were hot, man.
It's true.
It's like now that seems kind of out there.
Probably. We're all fine, though, by the way.
Totally. Here, it's fine.
But point is, it's convenient. That's why bottled water exists. Bottled water exists because it's convenient. It's not economical. It's not environmental. You can go buy a Brita filter if you don't have good tap water, right? Just gave Brita a free shout. Still that do Brita filters?
Yeah, we have one.
Right. I just go right out of the tap, baby. But bottled water exists because it's convenient. And the moment that streaming became inconvenient, 4, 5, 6, 7 different apps, I was like, you watch. Yeah, cable's more expensive. And these bundles are going to start getting more and more expensive, but it's going to be convenient. And convenience comes with a price. And there are people that are willing to pay for convenience and wondering if it's going to be economical. So here's the thing. My first wonder is college football, right? Because the NFL has already, other than what? The one Thursday night game and the one playoff game that they put on Peacock, streaming only. Brenden, you don't have to pay to watch NFL. If you are a Seattle Seahawks fan, you don't pay to watch NFL football. It's on network TV. Network TV is free. You can still get an antenna, plugs into even your smart TV, and you can watch network TV.
Rabbit ears?
It's like a flat plastic thing now.
Oh, okay, gotcha. But yeah, you're right. You can.
You can watch NFL football for free. And then there are also people that are just conditioned now that they watch NFL Sunday Ticket or they watch Red Zone. And so they're used to getting on now you get on the app. You used to get on, obviously, the DirecTV. But, like, you're either all in on Sunday Ticket or the games that you get are free. I think of college football. And I always talk about the secret sauce. Like, what is the secret sauce of college football? And the best part of college football is on a Saturday, you get all the games. If you have cable. But you got all the games. And it wasn't like the NFL where morning games start at 10 o'clock West Coast time, and then the afternoon games start at 1, and you got to go to Red Zone and have them flip around for you. No, it's like, one game starts at 9, another game kicks off at 9:30, a whole bunch kick off at 10, and you can just flip around, again, with the remote control. I'm curious what the viewing experience is going to be like with college football, because like when, let's say when Oregon or Oregon State plays a late game, there's nothing better than sitting and flipping around. Right? It's like, hey, Ohio State and Iowa are close in the fourth. Click it right there. Instant. Done. All right. Ohio State pulled away. But Georgia Tech has got a lead on Miami. Click it over. Like, I wonder, like, what is going to happen ultimately with college football, because I do think that is a big part of the viewing experience with college football, is that there isn't a Saturday ticket. You don't need a Saturday ticket, even if you just have to figure out where the game is and flip around. But going from app to app, now that might change because you put it now all in one centralized location. Maybe I'm sure there's some nerd out there figuring this out where it's like you just look at it on your phone, right, and just go, oh, Virginia's got the lead against North Carolina. Click to watch. And it's, streamed right to your TV. I'm sure that's going to be it, but
already exists to an extent. Like,
I'm talking about the reason why Amazon, I believe, took over the world, for a lot of reasons.
The fact that I was able to get something delivered in 3 hours yesterday,
Dude, it is nuts.
Oh, it's wait for the drones. Wait until the drones pick up something and drop it at your front door.
I don't like the drones.
Well, I can't wait.
Freak me out. The propellers and who's running them, I don't know.
AI.
I don't trust that AI.
Either in or out with the future, Justin.
I am out.
Don't be a curmudgeon now.
It's the best. Being a curmudgeon's so fun.
But no, like legitimately.
But no, going back to what I believe, truly was the magic of Amazon. Brenden, one click. Now, it's not it. Hold on. Let me get this up to my. I can't even hear it. I have a mouse here. Like, that's an actual click. But, like, on the phone, one tap. It's one tap. You go to Amazon. You search. I just bought a vacuum the other day. Welcome to old age, right? Pumped up for a new vacuum. It's like you go to Amazon, you find, like, I like this. Buy it now. Credit card's already in there. Your address is already in there. You got your Prime account. Shout out to the wife. She's got the Prime account. Buy it now. Done. That's why Amazon took over the world, among many, 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 many other reasons. But I do think when you used to remember when online shopping was a pain in the rear, and and then Amazon is like,
I'll say this,
put in your credit card. Is your billing the same as your shipping? Like Amazon, one click, buy it now, got it. Okay.
The only thing, Justin,
if you can get a sports, watch it now.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And I'm curious.
Change the world.
I'm curious to see if this keeps like a brick and mortar store for the future, Justin. There are a couple things, and I'm curious your thoughts on this.
All right,
that they still have not figured out, and maybe I'm being a curmudgeon in this regard, but I still don't think you figured out online clothes shopping because it is still very hard to size yourself, try things on, then the hassle of shipping it back and ordering it again. So like. Socks or,
socks are easy.
Those kind of things or, undergarments or whatever. Like, those are, but like, shirts or pants can be tough. And then the second
So you're telling me there's not a lot of people like me that finds one brand, I like said brand, and I buy all of it?
That's probably the smart thing to do. But, I've got, Nikes are this size, and this shirt is cotton, and it shrinks, and this, and all that. And then number two are like things that smell. Like if I'm going to the store, I kind of want to know what my deodorant smells like. I kind of want to know what,
Sense by Jan? Yeah. Or Serenity by Jan?
For only $10,000, you can be a member of Serenity. Are you trying to get us to buy Jan's candle company? Yes.
But like.
Andy thought about it. I'm in.
There are certain things, and I do think.
But you know what I mean? Like stuff like that, I think will keep. Or soap, or just, it's hard.
I do bar soap.
Yeah, it's hard
I get it at Costco and, so much.
Yeah, stuff like that.
But I'm saying, like, back to, like, with the TV thing, though, like, if they can create it to where it's like, I see a scoreboard app and just go, watch it now. And it pops up on the TV, like, this old remote control, we're not ready to Sarah McLachlan this thing yet, but we might. This whole thing's kind of nuts. Now, the other thing is, streaming's like a minute and a half behind, and there are a lot of people that watch sports and tweet at the same time.
They can fix that.
They got to fix that.
Very much like how we found that the only one that has it correct is Prime and the Thursday Night Football game because it's not also broadcast over TV.
Yeah, so nobody else.
No one's ahead.
Chance.
Now, I'll say this, Justin. The tech overlords, I've learned enough about how, like, and this is going to sound really silly, how unbelievably tough it was for when they created music streaming services like, Apple Music, Spotify. Apparently, early on, Justin, it was nearly impossible to have it be a seamless transition. The lack of buffering. That was one of the biggest problems for years is, why does it buffer? Why does it buffer? Why does it buffer?
Well, they fixed that.
So it is possible. You just need to get the genius nerds on it.
Remote controls are going away. It's true. Remote controls are going away. All right. Coming up next, we got some NBA news and notes. We also might dive into the Blazers. Does the Shaedon Sharpe injury affect the Malcolm Brogdon potential trade? What's the outlook for the rest of the season? We go around the league and in our own backyard with Round Ball Rock next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up hour number one. Talk a little hoops. A lot of stories around the NBA right now. Bucks are 1-4 under Doc Rivers. Dame's got an ankle injury. Embiid's out for at least 4 weeks after his knee procedure. And Kyrie makes his return to Brooklyn. Plus, Shaedon Sharpe will be undergoing surgery later this week to repair a core injury. A lot of stuff to dive into, and we need some John Tesh to help us out with Round Ball Rock. Here we go. All right, let's start in our own backyard. Shaedon Sharpe. Now, he missed 3 weeks so far. He's been out for 3 weeks. Now undergoing surgery. I'm no doctor. I'd be surprised if we see Shaedon the rest of the year. It doesn't seem beneficial for anybody to rush him back. And the Blazers have been in no hurry, as we've seen all season long, when players get injured, to rush anybody back. And we're getting to that point in the season where, what do they say in Shawshank? Get busy living, get busy dying. It's like get busy winning or get busy tanking. That's what you do in the NBA. You either make a run, which they ain't going to do, or you run to the bottom. We've seen it firsthand in this particular organization. We saw Dallas do it last year, where it's just like, all right, we have Kyrie and Luka. It's like, yeah, but Wemby's out there. Pull the plug on it, get a ping pong ball, maybe even take a tampering fine, don't care. Trade deadline coming up tomorrow. Obviously, we got a lot of stuff potentially on the line. So, that being said, other things around the NBA. Usually, when a player returns to a former it's either it's love or it's hate, right? Dame came back to, as it should have been, a bunch of love at Moda Center last week, and a lot of times players come back with a little bit of hate, a little bit of booze, a little bit of a Bronx cheer, as they say. I think we are now to the point where there's so much player movement that, Brenden, we've gotten to the meh point of player returns, because I thought it was interesting. They were trying to make it a big deal that Kyrie Irving was returning to the Nets. Kyrie Irving returning to the Nets. And Nets were like, meh. Okay. Yeah, you were here. You were also in Boston. They don't like you. You were in Cleveland. They don't like you. Meh. We're like the third super team that you broke up. Talk about legacy, though. And I think I might be ripping this off from Brian Windhorst. Kyrie Irving had a super team in Cleveland. Him, LeBron, Kevin Love won a championship, went to the finals, 4 years? 3 years in a row with Kyrie? And Kyrie was like, yeah, I'm done playing Robin. I am Batman. And he bounces. He's out. Ultimately leading to LeBron leaving and the Cleveland Cavaliers having to rebuild. So he goes to Boston. It's like, all right, Boston, got Kyrie, got Gordon Hayward, got this rookie out of Duke. Pretty good. And a new, young, because I think Brad Stevens was in year 1 or year 2 as a head coach when Kyrie got to Boston? Might have been his first year.
Something like that.
Got a new hotshot coach, kid out of Butler. What a promise. Yep. Kyrie broke that one up too.
I still love Brad Stevens. There's a reason he's running that front office, and Boston can go, oh, yeah, Ime Udoka, we'll just hire someone else. We'll be just as good. No biggie. God, he's a genius.
Do you think in the NBA...
And trade Malcolm Brogdon for Drew Holiday, genius.
If you could be a head coach or a GM, what's a better job? I think in the NFL, being a head coach is the best job in terms of that side of the, in terms of management, right? I think being a head coach is the best. We talk about all the time in the NFL, coaching carousel, head coaching search. We got to find the coach. We don't normally do that. Los Angeles Chargers just got a new GM. Meh. Jim Harbaugh's their head coach. In the NBA, is GM a better job? Because you don't have to deal with the day-to-day nonsense, and you have almost as much, if not just as much, impact. Because there's less people on the roster, so roster moves are massively impactful.
Yeah, I would say, like...
I don't know how much money they get paid, but...
I mean, the best of both worlds is like Pat Riley, right? You win all years as a coach, and then you move on up, baby. That's why Pat Riley is the GOAT of all GOATs.
But it's like Brad Stevens didn't win any as a coach.
No, it's true.
And then he moved into the front office, and it was like,
yeah,
that's an interesting move. And then you see, like, well, he's really good at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, there are guys who have been bad. I mean, I'm trying to look back, like, yeah, I mean, he went to the conference finals 3 times as a Boston coach.
I mean, even Larry Bird did that, right? Larry Bird, he coached for, like, I think 3 years. Took him to the finals. Then he was like, go to the front office. I'm done fighting with officials.
Yeah, because
I'm done with, like, and now you're seeing it in, like, Golden State, like, third-year guys, like, calling out Steve Kerr for, like, playing time. It's like, dude, that guy's got more rings than fingers. Like, what are you doing? I think he is. Well, actually, do you count thumb? Is a thumb a finger? Let's have this discussion right now. Didn't see this one coming. Is a thumb a finger?
Well,
brain buster on a Wednesday.
A thumb is what separates us from the monkeys. So,
yeah.
I mean,
well, a lot of things. We separate us from a lot of things.
The opposable thumbs is what, you know, if you believe in evolution, Justin, that is what changed us, was getting thumbs. It's like, you know, how could you, a thumb, like, imagine not having your thumb and then doing the things we do. Can't drive. You can't.
I mean, I could drive.
Could
drive.
I don't know if you could grip without, that'd be fun.
I'd have a tough time with the remote control.
So I said,
thumbs
thumbs are what made us humans, man.
Well, I understand that, but what I'm saying is
it a finger? I don't know.
Because Steve Kerr, I believe, has 9 rings, right? 3 with the Bulls, 2 with the Spurs, and 4. I believe Steve Kerr's got 9 because Phil Jackson's got 11. He's got 11.
Steve has 9. 5 as a player, 4 as a coach.
I nailed it.
Yep.
So when I say, like, he's got more rings than fingers, does he?
No.
Because the thumbs count.
Yeah, because Tom Brady's put him on his thumbs before, too.
Well, yeah, but...
Because Tom Brady's got 7, so he's got to put him on his thumbs.
But he doesn't need... If he's got 7, he could just go pinky.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's true. But yeah, like, I would say it's a thumb. I would say it's a finger, thinking about it a little bit more.
All right. All that being said, Kyrie Irving's back in Brooklyn last night. Finally, like, fans were just like, all right, whatever, Kyrie. And it's like, he's like, I made my peace. And they're like, yeah, well.
I mean, knowing what we know now, Justin.
Not even mad anymore. It's
yeah,
like
think
this
about
is what you do. Like, by round 3, right, it's like, you're not dating the crazy girls. Maybe you're the crazy one.
Right. And think about it. Kyrie was kind of a issue in Brooklyn because of the whole vaccine thing and, like, not being able to play. And, like, we think about that now, and it's like, maybe a little overzealous.
That is going to be one where we're going to have to, like, and listen, we don't do this stuff on this show, even though every once in a while it creeps in there. What were we thinking at the moment where it's like, well, you can't play? All right. That makes sense, I guess. Can I sit courtside? Yeah, well, you could do that. Like, wait a minute. So I can sit courtside. I'm right there. But I can't play? That's interesting. Not saying they were all crazy, but there was a couple crazy things we did. All right, we have got Make or Miss coming up. Stuff I saw on the internet, new Wednesday segment. It's still hanging in there, I think. Stuff I saw on the internet. Plus, Chip Kelly still flirting with the NFL. Hour 2 of RCM starts in a minute. That's next, 620 Rip City Radio.
what you need to know.
From the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
It is 7 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Justin Myers with you. Jim Harbaugh has added 2 coaches to his staff as Jesse Minter follows him from Michigan as a defensive coordinator. Meanwhile, offensive coordinator Greg Roman, who was with him in San Francisco, will be calling the plays down in SoFi. Jose Altuve signs a 5-year, $125 million extension to essentially finish his career as a Houston Astro. And in big media news, ESPN, Fox, and Warner Brothers announced sports streaming platform of at least 15 networks and all 4 sports in one-stop shop. Blazer News, Shaedon Sharpe will undergo surgery to fix his injured abdomen, I think core stabilization. Brenden didn't write that. I improv that one. Saved you. But anyways, he's going to be out for a significant amount of time. Tyson Alger will be on the show in hour number 3. Hour 2 starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. It's RCM with Justin Myers, right here on your home of the Portland Trailblazers, 620 Rip City Radio.
I'll be honest, not my best update. Not my best. Am I going to let it affect the entire segment? Am I going to let it affect the hour? Oh, no. But I just want to just address the elephant in the room. Just come right out and say it. I got to be better at this update thing. I went in nonchalant. Tried to do a little jazz improvising. Didn't work. We're going to be better. Hour 3, I feel like I'm going to nail it. I really do. I feel like I'm going to nail it. All right. Welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. We have got Tyson Alger coming up in hour number 3. I did say that in the update. You might have missed it because you were distracted by how awful it was. But we're going to talk to Tyson. Going back in the Wayback Machine with some Oregon football nostalgia. I mean, I do think there is a market in sports media for a thing called, hey, remember that guy? And then you just talk about it. I mean, it's kind of like a third of our show, which is like, hey, remember this thing? Or remember that guy? And so Tyson on the I-5 corridor, along with Shane Hoffman, who, by the way, may be ultimately like scoop artist if this whole Chip Kelly thing happens, dropped a, hey, remember these guys? And I was like, yes, I do. And this is awesome. So we're going to talk to Tyson coming up in hour number 3. We got Make or Miss, new segment called Stuff I Saw on the Internet. But the Chip Kelly thing is getting more and more fascinating. And I know there's a Super Bowl coming up. And look, we could sit here and talk about who does the Super Bowl mean more to, Mahomes or Purdy, and which coach's legacy is on the line, and does Shanahan really have to get a win? Like, we could do all that. But I find this Chip Kelly continuing to flirt over and over and over with the NFL endlessly fascinating. Endlessly fascinating. All right, Brenden, do you remember Back to the Future 3? I love Back to the Future 3. A lot of people like to hate on it. I don't, because I like Westerns.
I like it more than the second one.
I think Back to the Future is one of the few, what is it called? Trilogies, that's what it's called, where, like, they all kind of had their hot spots, you know? Ridge, great, right? There's some weird stuff with Michael J. Fox and Mom, little Oedipus stuff there. It's history. But that's, and then like back.
Mom falls in love with son? Yeah.
Yeah, little Oedipus thing, right? Is that Oedipus? I think so. It's in the.
That's, yeah, it's interesting.
There's some Freud stuff there. Let's just say that. And then, you got the, Michael J. Fox wrote Johnny Be Good and all that. So there's that. And then in 2, you get hoverboards and you get the Gray Sports Almanac. Like, it's pretty awesome. You get the Cafe 80s. You get the Air Mags, the self-lacing shoes. And then in 3, you get the Western. But in 3, remember when they were trying to get the train up to 88 miles an hour and it was pushing the DeLorean and they were going across what was supposed to be Clayton Ravine, but then it was Shonash Ravine because Claire Clayton, they saved her and there wasn't a bridge built yet. And they're like, the windmill is the point of no return. We hit the brakes before that windmill. We might be able to stop before this bridge that doesn't exist. After the windmill, which was interestingly strategically placed, but Doc Brown, he's smart like that. The windmill is the point of no return. Let me ask you something. Has Chip Kelly passed the windmill as the UCLA head football coach? Has Chip Kelly on the DeLorean being pushed by the train with the fancy logs that they created? Has he passed the windmill?
Yes.
In terms of, is there any way, shape, or form that Chip Kelly, if this Seahawk thing, because from what I understand, and when I say from what I understand, I'm ripping off from our good friend Brady Henderson, is that Chip Kelly interviewing with the Seahawks for an offensive coordinator role has not eliminated Ryan Grubb, former Washington head offensive coordinator and technically current Alabama offensive coordinator. Hasn't eliminated him yet. But Brady Henderson said what they are doing is much like they did with the head coaching search, because remember, the Seahawks were the second to last team to hire a coach. And the only reason they weren't the last team is because the Commanders thought they had Ben Johnson wrapped up, and Ben Johnson goes like, yeah, no, I'm not doing this. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm out. Texted him. Still friends, though? And the Commanders were like, absolutely not. That's the only reason why the Seahawks weren't dead last in terms of hiring a coach, because Jody and Bert gave the keys to John Schneider up there, and John Schneider was like, we're interviewing a lot of people. All right? We got a lot of people are going to come in, and obviously they interviewed Dan Quinn. I think they interviewed Ben Johnson. Who else? They had a bunch of guys kind of like in and around the complex there, the Virginia Mason Athletic Complex, the VMAC. And then ultimately they landed on Mike McDonald. But they interviewed a lot of people, and so what Brady Henderson said was, yeah, they're interviewing Chip Kelly. That doesn't eliminate Ryan Grubb. That doesn't even say that maybe he didn't interview well. What they are doing is much like they did with the head coach, is they're just going to talk to a lot of people, because why not? You've got an opportunity to openly, talk to all of these people. Maybe we find something, or somebody just blows it out of the water. That being said, Chip Kelly so far has been linked to the Commander's job, only to get spurned by Cliff Kingsbury. Sorry, Chip. We're going to go with the good-looking guy. Not that Chip's not good-looking, but it's Kingsbury. He's a handsome SOB. It's like, we're going to go with the movie star guy. And, the coach of the quarterback we might want to draft. So Kingsbury gets that job. Now he's active head coach. Now, we saw this with Boston College, right? Where the head coach at Boston College, but Brenden, he was an NFL guy, wasn't he? He was like always an NFL guy, took the job, and then ultimately got the job with the Green Bay Packers because he wants to. Chip Kelly went to the NFL, and it chewed him up and spit him out twice. Philly, San Fran, boom, not for you as a head coach. College, sure. Signs like a $30 million deal. But NFL, not for everybody, Chip. And then obviously college football changed massively in the last 5 years. But this is a guy who's a head coach at UCLA, which still has some stature. This is a team that is going to the Big Ten. This is a team that is massive recruiting advantage because you are right there in the midst of Los Angeles. And you're linked to not one, but two offensive coordinator jobs in the NFL. And it sounds like there's some bad blood. Used to be mad love, and now we got bad blood going on in Westwood. And I wonder, again, has Chip Kelly passed that windmill? Is there any way, shape, or form that Chip Kelly comes back? Because It's still recruiting time right now. There's still, it's funny because Brenden mentioned it. Today is signing day. But with the early signing period, it really has become massively, massively irrelevant. But there's I see on X, Twitter all the time, right? The what does Trent Bray do? The beaver with the padlock. I see Dan Lanning posts the duck.
But yeah, it's I think Oregon State's adding 3 guys today, so it's just different.
But I still see these coaches recruiting. Then and the 2025 class and all that. Chip Kelly clearly not recruiting right now. He's interviewing. I don't know if he actually officially interviewed for the Commander's job, but he was very heavily linked to it, and now he is actually interviewing with the Seahawks to be the offensive coordinator. Man, how did it all go so wrong down at UCLA? How did it go this bad? And I remember when he got fired from the 49ers, and then remember he took that year off because there was a talk of is he going, because I think that was
his awkward ESPN analyst year.
Yeah. But I thought, because I believe that was the year that Mark Helfrich got fired. And Chip took the year off. Oregon hired Willie Taggart. He ended up taking I think that was how it worked out. There's some Oregon fans were constantly wanting Chip to come back to Oregon over and over again. But it is kind of amazing that it hasn't worked out at UCLA. But it also kind of makes sense because college football has changed. You want to play and win at the biggest level, you got to have big money backers, which you always had to have, but you have to recruit 3 times the amount that you recruited before. And on top of that, the thing that made Chip Kelly and Oregon back in, 2010, 2011, 2012, what made them special is now normal. Everybody's running tempo. Everybody's running you can't even run the blur anymore because they put in substitution rules. The blur that Oregon was running from 07 to 11, you can't run anymore because defenses have figured out it's we just substitute. And then, you get the referee hovering over the ball and he's like, don't snap it. Oregon would have 2 snaps by the time you got that big defensive lineman off the field. You can't run it anymore, and it's also become normalized. And the only way now, I believe, you can out-scheme someone is with better players. But what a crazy time, because it's February 7th. Could you imagine if UCLA has to go on a head coaching search? And
be bad.
Does UCLA have a draw? If, in fact, Chip Kelly is done. If we're looking here and we're looking and going boy, is it over? Is it that broken? Openly flirting with other options, right? And if you're UCLA, an athletic director, guy who didn't hire you, going what are you doing? Is there any way you can reconcile and come back and be hey, all right, fun little phase you had there, Coach. You ready to come back and coach the Bruins? We're going to the Big Ten next year. Don't know if you heard. It's kind of a big deal. And if they have a head coaching vacancy this late, is there a draw? Can they pull another head coach from anybody? I don't know. It is an ongoing developing situation that we will keep an eye on. We've got Make or Miss coming up in just a bit. Before we do that, though, I want to tell you about the good folks at DiBella. That's right. I talk about them often. Why? Because they are fantastic. 15,000 5-star reviews on Google. Do they allow 6-star reviews on Google? No, they don't. They only allow you to go up to 5. That's why they got 15,000. If they had 6-star reviews, best believe it, DiBella would have those too. That's their customers talking about how great the excellent work is on their home improvement, because with the winter weather, that even though it's not an ice storm, it's still windy, it's still rainy, it's still going to get cold. And if you want to save up to 30% on your energy bills, DiBella can help you take care of your roofing, your windows, your siding, make your home more efficient. That pays down the line with a reward each and every month when your utility bill goes down, down, down. Plus, if your roof is leaking or just aging and you have been maybe putting it off, wanting to replace that roof, going we can't really do it right now. Well, now's the time. Because they've got a financing opportunity of 0 down and no payments until 2025. Now, it's on approved credit, but it's still 0 down and no payments until 2025. Roofing, siding, windows, bath renovation. Dabella, DABELLA.US. Give them a call or go on Dabella.us for a free, no obligation appointment, and they can make updating your home so easy. Dabella, the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers. All right, 1 hour from now, friend of the program, Tyson Alger is going to be joining the show from the I-5 corridor. Dive back into some Pac-12 hoops. Get his thoughts on this Chip Kelly to the Seattle Seahawks. Not a rumor anymore. He's interviewing. He was there. It's like, here's my philosophy. Here's what I think we can do. So fascinating stuff there. Also, if you're Mike McDonald, right, 36, I think, 36-year-old head coach, it's an interesting offensive coordinator hire, right? A guy that, look, I believe firmly that you put Chip Kelly in an offensive coordinator role in the NFL, I think he has success. I really do. I think he was in a spot in Philadelphia where he got caught up in what happens to maybe a lot of young coaches, which is I need player personnel decisions. And it's like, okay, the Deshaun Jackson guy's really good. I know he's a pain in the neck, and I know you want to run super fast-paced offense in the NFL with grown linemen making $14 million a year, but I don't know if I'd get all right. Have at it. And it didn't work out. But as an offensive play caller, I think still one of the better guys in the football universe. But young first-year head coach, bringing in twice fired, nearly college fired offensive coordinator. It'd be an interesting move. Especially when, what do you do at quarterback? What's the plan? So we'll talk to Tyson about that. Also, we've got stuff I found on the internet, which is new. We're beta testing it, right? So we'll have that coming up in a bit. But right now, let's go to Make or Miss.
It bounces off the crossbar, and it's good. Oh my goodness! Oh, and a big miss.
It's Make or Miss here on RCM.
I mean, it is kind of fascinating, Brenden, of I'm trying to think of a comp to Chip Kelly. Because his success, he's been in the coaching world for in the Pac-12, high level. He came to Oregon as an offensive coordinator in 2007. Successful head coach, Chip Kelly, is 4 years. 4. Now, those 4 were spectacular. They were. Now, I know it was probably not your favorite 4-year stretch. Understood completely.
Terrible 4-year stretch.
Terrible 4-year stretch. I completely understand. But, has there ever been a coach that's,
again,
paid off on a 4-year run the way, Chip Kelly has? People go, I think this time it's going to work. Didn't work in Philly, didn't work in San Fran, didn't work in Los Angeles with UCLA. I don't know. It's an interesting career, shall we say, and now maybe potentially going back to the NFL as a coordinator. Interesting career. Anyways, I have filibustered Make or Miss. What do you got?
Let's go ahead and open it up, Justin. Impressive sports synergy from 3 competing companies to create one streaming network.
It's amazing what happens when you are hemorrhaging money left and right with streaming
this shouldn't
services.
happen. That's the thing that makes this whole thing extremely impressive to me is that you're talking about ESPN, Fox, and Warner Media. 3 companies who I'd be willing to bet have the opinion of, very cutthroat businessmen. If my competitor's drowning, I put a hose in his mouth. So to have them come together.
But if we're all drowning, can we hug and share our
totally,
buoyancy?
Totally.
And keep our heads above water here. What's good for the goose is
Justin,
good for the gander.
This is all I'm going to say on this back to sport. Can we take this kind of collaboration and synergy to policy making?
Nah.
Just saying.
Nah, because that's not how you get jobs. That's not how you keep your job. That's not how you steal somebody else's job. You got to talk about how bad they are. But regardless, I keep going back to cable TV. Now, I wasn't around. I was a child when cable TV first came into our lives. But I got to imagine, Brenden, at some point, ABC, NBC, CBS, because Fox wasn't around until the 90s or the late 80s, where they all probably were like, what's this cable TV deal? Like, what's going on? And then ultimately, they all got on board, right? That ABC was Disney, CBS was Viacom.
Paramount.
Now Paramount, but it was, remember at the end of all the CBS shows, the Viacom thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then NBC was Universal. And so, like, USA Network was an NBC-owned thing, and Comedy Central was a CBS-owned. And they were all together on cable packages. So I kind of see this almost the same way. Now, they probably had a middleman, which was Comcast or whomever. But, yeah, if you're hemorrhaging money left and right, and from what I understand, which I understand very little, the one thing that is making money in broadcast television, the one thing that is guaranteed winner, live sports. Live sports wins. Sports fans aren't going anywhere. It's unpredictable. You have to watch it live. It's the only appointment television that is left. So live sports, and so now you just take all those. Let's put our best foot forward, which is live sports. Put them all together, and boom. Let's all make some money. Because from what it sounds like, once they all went out on their own, the price point, they couldn't charge enough to be able to, like, making that show in the newsroom's got to be, like, super expensive, you know? Or like Ted Lasso and all those shows, it's got to be pretty spendy. And you're charging, at one point it was like, what, $15 a month or something? I can't imagine what The Mandalorian costs.
Yeah, you're not even getting the most expensive ones, just like House of Dragon. That was a ton of money for HBO.
How much did House of Dragon cost?
So much money.
Probably way more than $14 a month.
Yes.
That I'm giving them.
Totally. So I mean,
put them together and one-stop shop for sports.
Let's talk price here.
All right.
I would be willing to pay up to $30 a month for this. That would be the number that I'd stop at.
What if, like, that's your only option, though? Meaning that if you don't pay for this bundle, how do you watch ESPN?
Well, are we assuming that they will just terminate their agreements with Comcast and Fubo? And
well, you don't have cable.
Yeah. So like right now, my agreements are solid, Justin.
So, okay.
But if Fubo went away...
Let me ask you, you're a cord cutter, so I don't... Like, I watch everything on cable. Live sports is all on cable. Still hanging in there.
Hey, I don't blame you. Like I said, for me, Justin, it was a pure money decision.
So you have got, other than the Turner family, right, you have got the Fubo.
Yep. Everything else. And
so you can watch your live sports.
Yes.
On Fubo.
Yes.
Why would you get this? Why would you spend any money on this when you could just go on Fubo and watch all the stuff other than forget March Madness, because obviously that's a bit of an... You steal a password for that or something.
Well, and I learned actually, Justin, and you may have seen this, they're going to do March Madness on Max. It's got their whole, like,
there you go.
Bleacher Report, sports, and Max is, so again, more people behind the scenes.
If you've got Fubo.
But yes, so
or some people have YouTube TV.
So
why would you, what is this? What is it good for?
So for me, considering that I pay for Fubo for live sports. Fubo is still almost $100 a month. If I could get this down, if I could cut it in half, I don't need the other networks. Like, everything else I watch is Netflix, Max.
Doesn't this service, though, also know that and say, look, you want to watch sports, you can either pay your $100 there, or you can pay your $80 here.
And maybe this is something where they kick it only to sports fans, because I think there's people like me who are like, darn, I pay almost $100 a month for Fubo, and there's still 70 channels I'll never watch. I mean, I can't tell. Like,
I know
the game show network, the Bob Ross painting channel. I mean, come on.
Well, that's public access. That's PBS. We all pay for that. Nobody pays for more stuff that they don't watch than me. Okay, I can fully admit, like, I pay for so much stuff that I don't watch. I don't understand what the benefit is. I have cable. I watch all the sports I need on cable, all these networks, and like none of these I don't already get. YouTube TV, like, is this just simply another way to eliminate that? And so where you're just like, I just watch the sports now. I don't know.
If it was
Try to
me,
figure out what the benefit is.
Yeah, if it was me, like, let me put it this way: there are in my household, there are some who are still happy to have a near cable package compared to like my brother and I, who are like, we only power up Fubo to watch the Beavers and Blazers.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's Netflix, it's Max, it's all the rest. So, as far as simplicity, that's where it's like there is a bunch of stuff that I don't routinely need, and all my shows are on the other platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was even less than $50, Justin, I probably would kick the bucket.
Here-
But I'll say this.
Don't kick the bucket. That means die. We don't want you to kick the
Fair.
bucket.
You know what's not good about
You're
this?
talking about kicking the can down
Sure,
the road.
sure.
Kicking a can, very
Yeah.
different than kicking a bucket.
Fair. Apologies. But no, I just realized in this, Justin, you know what the problem is? For us here in the PNW, no root sports.
Oh, yeah. Root Sports is Root Sports been the fly in the ointment the whole time.
So,
the whole time. YouTube TV.
So will I keep...
I think YouTube TV does have it, though.
One of them does, and then Pac-12 Network, gone, finally. Don't need to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, don't have to worry about that.
But yeah, that's going to be interesting. Like, will it be inconvenient for me to still get the Blazers? Because right now it's easy. I got them both on one network. But if,
Here's what I believe. Can I give you a little
Can one of those companies buy Root Sports?
Can I give you a conspiracy theory? Here's my theory. All these places got all hopped up on this streaming stuff. And it was the new thing, and everybody was like, oh, the Netflix model, the Netflix model, the Netflix model. And then once they realized that they oversaturated the marketplace, right? Like, kind of like chicken sandwiches, right? It was Chick-fil-A, and it was like, oh, everybody's got a chicken. Like, there's too many chicken sandwiches. Well, that one does it the best. But, like, all these networks and all these media companies, I don't know if they had secret meetings, but I bet you they had some like, hey, we were all better together when we were cable. We were making money. We were all better together. We all went out on our own. We thought we were going to be and then it was like, it was Paramount Plus and Peacock and Hulu, and which I think is Fox and ABC, and Max, and which is a Warner Brothers thing, and then there's Friends on one, but that's The Office is on the other, but they're both NBC shows, and it saturated everything. And I think these people all go, we were better with cable. How do we get them? Now you can't just reverse it, because you get a cramp. You know what I mean? You can't. You got to warm up to. I think slowly but surely they're like, let's just take the streaming technology, but go back to the cable business model, because the cable business model made money. And if you go like, hey, all the NBC, ABC, Fox, CBS, all of our affiliates, CNN, all of it, we'll just put it in one. And they're going to reinvent cable, but it's not going to be in a box that has to be plugged into the wall. It's just going to be out with the streaming technology. That's my conspiracy theory. Does it hold water?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's
4 or 5 years we're doing that, I believe. Because I don't think the a la carte thing makes money. You got to get people to pay for stuff they don't want because they want other stuff. That's the business model.
Yeah, but I think the interests of people are so wide ranging, Justin. Like, that's the thing is like we sit here and you have to still jump out of our lens. There are people who are like, why do I pay for cable when it's just live sports? I don't care about sports. So it goes
That's always been the case, but there was no other options. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Netflix came along and like, we got other options? What if those options are eliminated? Because these guys have power. You know what I mean? Like, there's still only about 4 companies that control all the stuff that we watch. Right? It all goes to and if they all band together, now that might be illegal. What I've just described might be completely illegal. I don't know. Is it like an antitrust thing? I don't know. But if all of a sudden you're like, yeah, you just like sports, that doesn't exist on its own. You got to buy everything. The a la carte stuff is done. You don't get to. You got to buy the meal. You can't just get the side salad. You got to buy everything. And I think that's what's going to happen, which is cable. That's what cable was. That's what the only difference is I think we've all become accustomed now to watch stuff without commercials. And it's like, are you willing to pay X amount more for no commercials? Now, sports, you're always going to have commercials because they stop the game. But like, I'm never watching Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like, well, I never had commercials on HBO. That's a bad example. But like Fire Country, or like when I watch Chicago PD, Brenden, I don't do commercials. Not anymore. And so I think that's what it's gonna be fascinating. Remote controls are out of our lives, though. They're gone. Coming up, new segment, stuff I found on the internet. Yeah, that's exactly it. Is it anything more than no? It's not a clever name. It's exactly what it is. Stuff I found on the internet. But before we dive into that, I do want to tell you about DeBella. I told you about him earlier. I'm going to tell you about him again. Why? 15,000 5-star reviews. It's worth repeating. If you want to update your home, if maybe the ice storm a couple of weeks ago put a bit of damage, or maybe you're just looking around going like, you know what? We might be looking to sell this thing. We want to improve this home, maybe look a little bit better in the market. Well, DeBella is who you need to get a hold of. DeBella.us. They offer a free, no obligation appointment right now. Just want to talk to you, and they can show you exactly how easy updating your home can be. I know updating your home. I've done it. I've had my home, and it can be overwhelming, and it can be expensive. Well, DeBella can offer zero down and no payments until 2025 on approved credit. Zero down and no payments until 2025. Plus, you can get a hold of them with the no obligation appointment and just find out where you might want to start. And when you start updating your home, it becomes more efficient. That efficiency shows itself in your utility bills. 30% potentially off your energy bills. If you were like me, and after that ice storm, if you didn't lose power, which I was very lucky not to, but if you got your energy bill, you're like, whoa. Imagine 30% right off that bad boy. DeBella.us is where you need to go. As we mentioned, 15,000 5-star reviews on Google. Plus, DeBella is the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers. All right, wrapping up hour number 2. It's a new segment. We're beta testing it. We don't have any intro music. But I call it stuff I saw on the internet. I live on the internet. I'm on the internet far too much. I need to cut back on my screen time. I can't help it. I've been trying to stay off the For You page on the Twitter because it just mean-spirited. I had that whole rant yesterday about how why is everybody gonna be so mad? But every once in a while, the internet, like a cruel drug dealer, every once in a while just gives you another little nugget, and it's like, I know you're ready to be done, but what about this? Huh? What do you think about this? Or it's like if you are like me, a guy in his past who's like tried to diet, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, but what about you go to Costco, just a little sample, and all of a sudden you buy like 4 bags of chips. But so with that, I've created a new segment called Stuff I Saw on the Internet, and this is from I believe it originated on a Twitter feed called Las Vegas Locally. Now, Twitter is different now. Our Twitter world is different. Thanks to Elon trying to cash in on the blue check mark. You can no longer trust blue check marks. Can't trust them. So the way I have always gone about it now is I look at how many followers do you have? Because if you're a parody account, or if you just throw out, or if you're an aggregator, NBA Central or whatever, right? You only have a handful of followers. This one's got 367,000 followers. According to its bio, interesting, strange, and useful stuff from the Vegas Valley. DTLV, that's downtown Las Vegas, to you. To Henderson, to the Strip, to the desert. Las Vegas Locally. And they were the first to report this. Now, I did not know there was a place called Lake Las Vegas. Brenden, you love Vegas. Were you aware of Lake Las Vegas?
Of course.
I did not know that Lake Las Vegas was a thing.
Not much of a lake, though.
No?
I don't think you can swim. Yeah, you can't swim in it. I think it's all just like for
Is it a man-made?
Yes.
For aesthetics?
Yep. Well, Justin, it is the desert, so everything pooled water is man-made.
Well, they got Lake Mead.
Man-made by the Hoover
But the Colorado River's a real place.
Right, but the Hoover Dam, Justin, biggest World War II works project.
I'm just saying,
but yeah,
it's there. I guess it technically is man-made. When I think of like man-made, it was like they went in with bulldozers and then somebody pulled on the hose. And but anyways, Lake Las Vegas is a place. Didn't know it. Never heard of it, but it's a place. And apparently that's where both teams are staying. And it's about 30 miles, 25, 30 miles.
Yes, it's in Henderson, so just outside.
Yeah, it is not in Las Vegas, Las Vegas proper.
Henderson's where you live if you live in Vegas, Justin. So it's a nice spot. Henderson is a really nice area down there.
But as you mentioned, it's in the desert, right? Now, I have golfed in the desert, and there's some stuff out there. Let me tell you. We are used to, in our world, in our wilderness, seeing certain things, right? Every once in a while you see a deer. What other things? Like in our wilderness, like you see a lot of squirrels, maybe a skunk or two. Watch out. But like
got some bald eagles around here, these parts.
Yeah, like hawks. Sometimes you'll see a hawk. We have stuff in our wilderness, different wilderness in the desert. And apparently, unnamed NFL player who is there at Lake Las Vegas. Now, again, Chiefs and 49ers both staying at Lake Las Vegas because they want the players away from the Strip. According to Las Vegas Locally, Brenden, an NFL player in town for the Super Bowl was attacked by a coyote at Lake Las Vegas. That's according to a source. That is from Las Vegas Local. Did some doofus NFL player think that a coyote was a nice, friendly dog? And, like, how do you get attacked by a coyote? How do you, like, are they stealthy? I know nothing of coyotes other than they howl. They howl at the moon.
Yeah.
And that's about it. And I know that if I ever saw one, I'd keep my distance.
Yeah, so, like, this is actually kind of hits home, Justin, because there's somewhat of a coyote in my neighborhood that kind of lives in
the coyote of Sherwood?
In the wooded area by my house.
So we have coyotes up here.
Yeah, sure.
I thought they were like desert dwellers.
Nope, we have coyotes.
We had woofs. I thought we have woofs.
I mean, Whoops.
That's how we call them down in Winston.
I mean, all of it. Like, we have cougars, coyotes in the specific area, but, like,
coyotes.
For instance, like, if you depends on the coyote, but, like, if you see a coyote and once, it's one of those things, Justin, this does not surprise me because this is going to be an issue the more and more, and this is really deep issue. More and more that humans continue to push into
here we go.
Animal areas. Mm-hmm. And it's like the more that we expand. So like Sherwood is on the edge of like, the mountain that's between Beaverton and Sherwood, right? The further they build into, wilderness, those animals are going to eventually be like, could I eat out of their garbage cans for my food? You know what I mean? It's that whole, you create the stray cat mentality. And it's like, my guess would be these coyotes.
There's coyotes all over the place. I'm looking at this map.
In Oregon or?
No.
Oh, yeah.
From Alaska down through Mexico.
Yeah, they're pretty versatile animals, Justin. They are related to the dog. So it's like.
I didn't know anything about coyotes. I thought they were just howling at the moon in the desert.
Yeah,
I thought they were just wandering around the desert. I didn't think I'd ever maybe encounter a coyote ever. No, I don't go into the woods all that much. But I've seen some things.
But yeah, I mean, I've always thought to myself, like, I walk my dog. My dog's not particularly big at 12 pounds. We walk late at night through the neighborhood, and right where I've seen that coyote in someone's front yard before.
You've laid eyes on this Sherwood coyote.
Yeah, because I have to get to my house, you take a U, and it's a one-way kind of a U thing, and when you turn at, like, the first corner of the U, there's a whole wooded forest behind that area that still has not been built into, and, I was like, at first you think it's a German Shepherd for how big it is, right? But then you're like, oh, that's not a tamed animal, Justin. So my guess is somehow these coyotes were probably started to, because environments were destroyed, work their way towards this.
Well, there's a coyote in Vegas going after football players.
Maybe they found food in the Lake Las Vegas area. I'd say all the above. But, like, it does say they were bitten, Justin.
This is a real thing. A football player, could you imagine?
Give me that tetanus shot.
All right, Barrett Robbins, I think, was the guy that had a mental health episode and, like, missed the Super Bowl. Like,
what did I say? A woman was seen on video feeding the coyotes near the village.
All right.
Done and done. I just proved the whole theory. Thank you. This is Brenden.
All right, hold on. First off, what are you doing, like, feeding the coyotes? Like, who are these people?
Stray cat mentality, man.
I'm not an outdoorsy guy. Right, but I learned at a very young age, like, don't feed the animals. Maybe that was just because I was in Cub Scouts and
Wildlife Safari.
That
helped.
That helped. But you could, though, like in the petting zoo, you get the little pellets.
Okay.
And then the little nanny goats would right out of your hand,
that,
or the ostrich and the emus. But I'm just saying, like, could you imagine the report? Like, what if this was what if this was Patrick Mahomes? Now, I don't think it was. Or what if this was like George Kittle or something? And it's like, George Kittle is questionable for the Super Bowl coyote attack. Holy cow.
The same person who's reporting on this, Justin, also said recently they'll find 50-pound bags of dog food dumped outside the community just to draw them in to see if, quote unquote, see how close they can get by hand feeding them. What are we doing, people? Like, this is just ludicrous. What are we doing?
So now we got
something about wild animals that fascinate people. It's like the people who
they tried to get all these players away from the strip, right? Because of all the temptations out there on the strip with, the clubs and the parties and the strip clubs and the gambling and everything else. It's like, let's get away from the strip. It's like, we didn't factor in coyotes. Didn't factor in that. So keep an eye out. Somebody has an extra bandage in the Super Bowl. Might be a coyote attack. I don't know. I've never laid eyes on a coyote, though.
You still might.
I've seen wolves at the Wildlife Safari. One time the wolf got out. It was a very big deal in my town. They found it, but it got out. We have got Tyson Alger. We have got the RCM mailbag. More fun stuff in hour number 3 next, 620 Rip City Radio.
Here's what you need to know. From the Goldberg Jones Sports Desk, your 620 Rip City Radio headlines. Goldberg Jones. Call 1-800-DIVORCE.
It is 8 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Justin Myers with you. Portland Trailblazers announced yesterday that Shaedon Sharpe will undergo corrective surgery on a core muscle injury. Timetable for his return will be set post-surgery. Jim Harbaugh has added two coaches to his staff. Jesse Minter follows him from Michigan as the defensive coordinator. Offensive coordinator is Greg Roman, who was with the San Francisco 49ers while Harbaugh was the head coach there. Chip Kelly has interviewed with the Seattle Seahawks for an offensive coordinator opening. This is now multiple coordinator positions that Chip Kelly has been linked to, as he is still the head coach at UCLA. ESPN, Fox, and Warner Brothers announce a sports streaming platform of at least 15 networks, all for sports, for a one-stop shop. Coming up in 20 minutes, Tyson Alger from the I-5 corridor. We've got the RCM mailbag, and boy, the coaching carousel continues to go up, down, and around. Hour 3 starts right now at 620 Rip City Radio.
The home of the OSAA is 620 Rip City Radio. It's RCM with Justin Myers, right here on your home of the Portland Trailblazers, 620 Rip City Radio.
Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings. I'm Justin Myers. Thanks for hanging with us. How's your Wednesday? Ours is great. We're having a great time. We learned a lot about coyotes last segment. I found out they go all the way from Alaska down South Mexico. And then listener appreciation, Scotty said, I got to get out more. And you know what, Scotty? You're 100% correct. I'm not an outdoorsy type of guy. I feel like the wilderness is great, right? Where I have such an appreciation for wilderness. I have so much appreciation. You know what I don't do? I don't bother it. It doesn't bother me. I don't bother it. You want to go out in the wilderness? Good for you. I'm going to stay right here. But yeah, coyotes are attacking football players in Las Vegas. We got weird coaching carousel moves. It felt like it was finally calming down, right? And one of the more fascinating coaching cycles, because that's what it is, right? The college football season ends. Nick Saban, I'm retired. Then Kalen DeBoer, and then Jed Fish, and also that was also in the mix of Jonathan Smith going to Michigan State, and then Trent Bray, and obviously around here, lots of movement in this coaching cycle. But we saw a 24-hour period where Pete Carroll, Nick Saban, and Bill Belichick all were like, we're done. And all three of those guys are not going to be coaching next year. Like, not two of the winningest coaches in NFL history and the greatest college football coach of all time. All just, one was fired, one mutual breakup, one retirement. None coaching next year. And then obviously you saw DeBoer take that move and it felt like then once, the end of the season in the NFL, which they used to call it Black Monday, but I don't know if they call it anymore because guys are getting fired on Sunday night anymore. And we saw openings there and rumors and boom, Harbaugh's flirting. So, 4 teams allowed in the college football playoff. 3 all have a different head coach now. Right? That's not so crazy kooky talk. So Harbaugh leaves Michigan. He takes over Los Angeles. More on that coming up in a moment. And just when we thought it was all kind of calming down, it's like, all right, well, Harbaugh left. That's a big deal. DeBoer leaves Washington to Alabama. That's a pretty significant deal. Sherrod Moore moves right into the head coaching position, so not going to be a domino effect at Michigan. Now, for the last 2 weeks, Chip Kelly's been like, hey, is there an NFL room I can get into? Is anywhere there is an NFL room I can get into? And again, I'm paraphrasing, but I'm assuming the motivation behind this, it can't be money, right? Who's going to make more money as the UCLA head coach? UCLA is set to make $75 million as a member of the Big Ten next year. Right? They were the second in line. Their athletic department is going to be swimming in it. Scrooge McDuck style. Blink, And Chip Kelly's like, yeah, I can't do this. And I think a big chunk of it is what we have talked about in the past, which is there are certain coaches that just don't want the smoke. What is the smoke? The smoke is transfer portal, NIL. You now go from being head coach, kind of GM, to like head coach, GM, owner, like hedge fund negotiate. Like the amount of now things you have to do just to keep okay players on your roster. We're not talking about keeping the quarterback here. There's money for that, right? Bo Nix, Michael Penix, we got money for that. Cam Rising, what's the number, Cam? But you're having to do all this now with like a backup linebacker because he might transfer, and now all of a sudden the depth chart is looking way different, and not just dealing with the players, but you're having to deal with clearly parents, which you've always kind of dealt with, I would imagine, as a college coach. You have to deal with parents. And then you might be having to deal with, like, friends of the family. That's something you never had to deal with before. It's like, I'll talk to mom and dad. Cousin George, who took accounting 215 at Garden Valley Community College, I'm not talking to him because he's now your financial advisor. We're not like, I just want to coach football and watch some film. Like, yeah, well, our backup tight end just tweeted out that he's thinking about the transfer portal or put a thing on Instagram. And now, like, some coaches want the smoke. I feel like Dan Lanning, perfect for this. Young, I feel like Sarkisian, like he's dialed in that way. Clearly, Kirby Smart is ready for this. But there are a lot of coaches out there going like, boy, this came on real fast, real quick. I'm done. Can I just go to the NFL and coach football? Which is incredibly fascinating. And I still believe that the biggest motivation for Jim Harbaugh leaving Michigan, oh, by the way, you know, I didn't mention all that. There's still dumb NCAA rules and all of that. It's like, wait, NIL, we just pay the players. Yeah, but some of the ways you pay the players doesn't work. And like Tennessee, you can't do what you did. Well, I thought we can just pay the players now. Yeah, there's some little smidge of rules, and we're going to still flex our muscle when we can. Well, that doesn't make a lick of sense. We're going to court and conference realignment and all sorts of other stuff that I didn't even get into. You know what Jim Harbaugh knows? He's going to be in the AFC, and he's going to be in the AFC West. And that's not going to change. And he knows what his payroll is, and he knows what his tight end makes, right? And he knows what his quarterback makes, and they're under contract. You don't have to deal with any of that. I still believe Jim Harbaugh's biggest motivation was because John Harbaugh has a Lombardi trophy and a big old fat Super Bowl ring, and he doesn't have one. He's got a nice national championship ring. Well, he will get one. And he brought Michigan, his alma mater, to the top of the mountain, but there's still something about my brother's got a Lombardi. They didn't hand that one out. I checked. I said, hey, you got a Lombardi back there? And they're like, no, just this one. This weird, kind of looks like the Lombardi, but it's not. It's college football playoff trophy. It's like, all right, I'm going to go get me one of them Lombardis. But I also think part of it is the amount of responsibilities that are now falling on top of college football head coaches in the last 3 years has increased so much. And you're still dealing with silliness. And on top of that, oh, yeah, we're paying players. They're employees now. Look at Dartmouth basketball. It's a whole thing. It will be a big deal. Don't have time to dive into it. But Dartmouth basketball is going to be a significant thing with college sports moving forward. But they're employees now. But you know what else they got to do? They got to pass sociology. They got to be enrolled. They got to pass. They got to be on track to graduate. But these guys are getting like 7 years of eligibility. Like, I don't care. Well, my cornerbacks in the NFL, they have to just watch football film, and that's all we're going to do. And I have a hunch that's a good chunk of the Chip Kelly, like, let me just get back in the NFL. I'll be a coordinator, sure. I'm tired of this. Tired. What a crazy time in the coaching world right now. Brenden, you asked me this earlier today. With Harbaugh now taking over the Chargers, what's the expectation level with Harbaugh now? Because there was high expectations with Sean Payton when he went to Denver, going like, well, you got Russell Wilson. It was clearly Nathaniel Hackett's fault, and it wasn't working, so they put Russell right under the bus and started over. They were, 5-win team last year, I believe the Chargers were. But it was like a fake 5 wins. Herbert got hurt, broke his finger. They shut down the season, fired the coach, fired the GM. But it was still a team that the year before, the major players had them in the postseason with a 27-point lead in the wild card round just a year ago. I'm fascinated to see what the Harbaugh effect. But here's the other thing. I know that Jim Harbaugh, when he took over the San Francisco 49ers, what were they, like 4-win team? They're like 4-12? Something like that?
6. They 6-11 the year before Harbaugh.
It'd be 6-10, right? Because that was a 16-game season.
Okay, yeah, 6-10. Sorry, but yeah,
that screws me up all the time.
Yeah,
thanks a lot,
6 wins.
Goodell.
They went from 6 to 11 or 6 to 13.
6 to 13. But what year was that? I want to say that was
2012,
2011, 2012. Either way, it was over 12 years ago. Are we sure that Harbaugh Magic still exists? Like, we hadn't coached
2011.
13 years ago.
And he never won more games in a single season in San Francisco than that first year. He went 11 wins, 12 wins, 8 wins. So
but then the
next year
went to the Super Bowl, I believe. So it's been like, oh, yeah, he took the 49ers to the Super Bowl 12 years ago. You know who took a team to the Super Bowl 11 years ago and 10 years ago? Pete Carroll. He's just been fired. So the idea that the Harbaugh Magic's like, hey, Harbaugh and Hurt's like, oh, he's had success everywhere he went. Yeah, that was Michigan. There's going to be some unrealistic expectations. I'm not saying it's going to go wrong. I'm just saying it's not guaranteed to go right. I think it's actually going to go right, but that's a long time to be kind of out of the NFL. Now, he's still in football. Don't get me wrong. But that's still a good chunk of time to be out of the NFL.
That's why I think,
I coached 6 years in the NFL.
Yeah, that's why I think, like, the Greg Roman hire was important because while you went back to Michigan after getting let go from the 49ers, Greg Roman stayed in the NFL. He again, like I told Justin, Lamar Jackson is probably not who he is without Greg Roman. Because as Justin told me, very much you needed a specific plan, an offensive coordinator, an offensive mind to get Jalen Hurts to be as good as he was. It was even more so with Lamar Jackson, Justin. People forget. Everyone's like, oh, he'll move to receiver. He'll be a running back.
Oh, yeah,
it was ridiculous. And Greg Roman's like, hey, I'm going to design an offense for this dude, and he can go win MVP.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is really helpful for Harbaugh. Personally, I would have liked to see David Shaw be on his staff, but maybe that's
he hasn't been in the NFL. Like, you got to hire an NFL guy.
Maybe, but it's not the first guy who would jump from college to the NFL. And David Shaw before Stanford, I believe, had NFL experience. But yeah, I was like, this Jim Harbaugh knows football. And
I am aware.
He has succeeded everywhere he's been. Everywhere.
100%. Now, it was a bad breakup at the end of the 49ers. And all I'm saying is we're talking about the success that he had 13 years ago. And that's a long time in the football world. And he's had success in college, sure. But it's been 13 years since he's had success in the NFL. And now he's coming in where you've got a $262 million quarterback. You're like, all right, get it going right now. All right. You know what is going to be successful, though? Next segment, because Tyson Alger is going to come on the show. He's from the I-5 corridor. We're going to have a lot of fun stuff to dive into, and that's next here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, it is that time of the week. That's right. Each and every Wednesday, our next guest joins the program, and we go up and down this great interstate that we live on. We burn it up, burn the rubber up and down. It is called the I-5 corridor, but most importantly, he is the owner, CEO, head writer, head of the party planning committee, and I believe fantasy football winner and loser in the office pool for the I-5 corridor. Tyson Alger, friend of the program, most importantly, back on the big show. Good morning, Tyson. How are we doing?
Good, man. Actually, and just one other title, too, is model calendar. I'm the model for the calendar. It's coming out next week. February is
putting out a calendar in February. That's a bold move. Yeah.
Yeah, no one actually wants to look at January. Like you kind of page through all the photos, and then it's like, all right, now let's start getting into the groove here.
All right, lots of stuff to talk to you about. Lots of stuff to dive into. And I feel like you at the I-5 corridor, along with your contributor Shane Hoffman, you found a niche that I love, and that every once in a while you throw a little nugget my way, which is essentially, hey, remember this? That was awesome, wasn't it? And then you write about it, and you kind of go and go back with nostalgia. And boy, you hit me right in the Oregon football nostalgia bone just a couple of days ago, going back to 06, 07, 08, and and we're going to spend some time here because I feel like, Tyson, there's a good chunk, and maybe it's because I'm a little sensitive to this, but there's a good chunk of Oregon football fans who think that, Chip Kelly showed up, said, let's play fast, throw some Nike swooshes on some stuff, and they said, "Sco Ducks," and that's how Oregon football began. But no, there's a whole life before that, which is fantastic and fascinating. And the story of John Neal and the D-Boys is a huge building block if you go back and look at what ultimately became Oregon football in the mid-2000s and then into the early 2010s. It was a significant shift in Oregon football.
Yeah, I was really happy that Shane wanted to tackle that story. One, because again, those Remember When stories always kind of seem to hit
They're the best.
The right
They're the
nerve.
absolute best.
Also, you don't want to go too recent because those college graduates from those areas probably don't have the disposable income yet to become subscribers. So we're really hitting your demographic. But we wanted to write that this week with signing day coming up because looking at Oregon's class this year, there's so much talk about 5 stars and transfers and how all this was put together, how Oregon's number 1 class in the Big Ten was put together. And we really wanted to kind of go back and look at some of the really strong position groups and teams and eras that Oregon was able to put together in an era where you didn't have the transfer portal, where you didn't have NIL, where you didn't have, guys banding together on Twitter and forming friendships and deciding where to go at once. This was a group of a bunch of 2, 3, and some 4-star guys that just it was the kind of perfect timing for the Ducks coming out of some of the struggles that they had in the mid-2000s, and then kind of putting together one of the best secondaries that the Pac-12 has ever seen. It was a doozy of a story she came out with.
It is fascinating to kind of look back and look. We learned in Moneyball, right? Adapt or die. The world is changing. All sports is going to be on our phones now. Remote controls are going away, right? You got to figure out that the world is changing. But I wonder, looking back at kind of how college football was back then, Tyson, you recruited a guy and you were both kind of stuck with each other for at least a couple years. And so player evaluation, I know Chris Peterson used to call it the OKGs, right? Our kind of guys. And you kind of, you recruited talent, but you also recruited fit. You recruited personality because you couldn't just bring in somebody. It's not working for you. It's not working for us. Transfer portal, thanks, and be gone. You were kind of committed to one another for at least a couple years, which had a very different focus on recruiting. I don't know if you can build teams that way anymore, right?
Yeah, no, it's completely different. Your recruiting classes back then, I think that's why we all became so enamored with recruiting in the off season back then. It was because those were the guys that you were locked in with. That was it. You really had to get to know them, and that's one of the fascinating things that I think about it with this new era, especially where with where the Ducks are at now, where they can get into any living room they want. They have the financial backing to swing with the heavyweights. Is how do they go about evaluating film? Because if you just have the ability to go after like every 5-star in the country, like, are you still kind of like mining, film of like 2- and 3-star guys, of those under-recruited guys, of those like Marcus Mariotas, those Justin Herberts, those guys that might not have, that type of ranking? I just think it's kind of a fascinating time, and that doesn't even really kind of touch into what you just talked about staying and tenure and basically having to be out of college for 4 or 5 years, or I guess back then it was only 4 years. There was none of this 6-7 year mess that we have these days.
Yeah, it is interesting because the 2-star, like Patrick Chung is the one that every Oregon fan back then talked about, right? Oh, Patrick Chung was a 2-star guy, and look, he was in the NFL. He's playing in the Super Bowl. But like those guys are now, they play for Wyoming, and then you just get them on the transfer portal. It's such an interesting way to kind of go about finding, because there's only 55 stars. There's only so many guys, and they don't always pan out. Yeah. But it's just, like the finding the high school diamond in the rough almost is going to become a lost art because, well, you just let them go play for Utah State, and then we'll just pick them up in the transfer portal with a big bundle of NIL money.
Exactly. It's like you almost let somebody else kind of take the risk of it, and then you kind of pick through like the established products. It's kind of like a franchise in professional sports that really invests in prospects versus somebody that actually wants like MLB ready players. It's fascinating. I wonder how many risks these Power 5. I don't even know if you call it Power 5 anymore.
Officially down to 4, but we just saw that not an alliance. Sorry. That's a bad word in college football now. We don't make alliances anymore. That one didn't last. But the Big Ten and the SEC basically said, yeah, it's us, right? You and me? And everybody else can just got it. So it's kind of it's a Super 2 and then like a Power 4, I guess?
I think maybe here's how this works in the future is every Power 2 team has a minor league team that's in the outside 3. So like maybe – don't shoot me here, but maybe like Oregon State is Oregon's like lower team, and then you can only get transfer players from the team that's below you, like within you. So it's kind of like a more stately thing.
Maybe you make it like Washington State and Oregon State like flip-flop, right? Like Oregon goes to the Cougs because there's still some things that still exist in us. Like maybe like Oregon goes to the Cougs. Well, I mean, and
you're just not ready. You're just not ready for that. Just
also,
quite yet.
I don't know if you can hear it through the phone. Producer Brenden is staring daggers at you right now. As in how dare you? Tyson Alger from the I-5 corridor joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. Now, I talked about it last segment, and I'm fascinated with the continued flirtation, Tyson, a former Oregon coach, current UCLA head coach, Chip Kelly, talking to the NFL. Your boy Hoffman called it like about 3 weeks ago. Didn't seem to have a lot of traction. It's like, whoa, wait. He might be going to the Commanders. Now he's interviewing with the Seahawks. And kind of going back to what we talked about, Chip Kelly is kind of in that last generation of that type of football coach where it's like it's about a scheme and you can find the right guys and you can find diamonds in the rough. And now it's like, no, now you got to negotiate. You got to get NIL packages. You got to transfer portal recruit, you have to high school recruit, and you have to re-recruit your own team. For a dude that was never all that interested in recruiting to begin with, but I am fascinated that we are sitting here on February 7th, Tyson. February 7th, and the UCLA head coach is not worried about this secondary signing day, but is trying to get a job with the Seattle Seahawks. This is crazy.
What amazes me about it is how has UCLA not just fired him? I mean, like, come to some sort of agreement to part ways yet. Like, This is incredibly damaging for them. It's obvious that he wants out. It's obvious that he's looking around. And as you said, like, today's the second most important day of the off season outside of the early signing period. And the headline for UCLA is that their head coach is interviewing somewhere else. Like, talk about losing all sorts of momentum going into the Big Ten. I think everything that Oregon has done to kind of accelerate going into this new era, like UCLA is doing the complete opposite, and it's baffling to me because they were already falling behind in a lot of things in the Pac-12. Like, they haven't been a factor in football in more than a decade. Basketball has been up and down. I know they've had some very good recent success, but it's just, you're about to go swimming with the big dogs, and you're doing everything to drag your heels. I completely don't understand it. If I'm the other teams in the Big Ten, I'm looking at USC, I'm looking at Oregon, and I'm looking at Washington, and I'm not really giving two thoughts about UCLA right now because they haven't shown that they want to be serious about this.
It is fascinating that how it all kind of fell apart. I remember, and I think you were on the Oregon beat at the time, like when Oregon was kind of trying to lure Chip Kelly back to Eugene in one of their 57 coaching vacancies it seemed to have had, and then he got the gig at UCLA, and that was a big pull for UCLA back then, right? They thought Chip Kelly was like going to be the next Nick Saban, right? Went to the NFL, didn't work out. Bring the special sauce back to college and just revamp that success that he had in Eugene when he left in 2012. And it never really clicked. It hasn't, like, I know he was rumored to Florida and ultimately took the job at UCLA for a big time payday. It is fascinating that it hasn't worked for him.
I feel like college football is just an entity now where you have to, like, completely eat, breathe, sleep what you're doing, and I think Chip eats, breathes, and sleeps football, but I don't think that it's, he went to the NFL the first time for a reason. I just don't think that he attacks that job in a way, because, when he was hired, there was a lot of assumptions of he's only been good in college football, he's coming back to college football, like, this could work, but there were also a lot of vocal people who were like, hey, by the way, like, Chip really didn't like recruiting at Oregon. Like, Chip, like, has, it isn't the best at necessarily identifying with younger players these days. Like, it's been an interesting tenure. It's led to some incredibly fun games to watch. Like, that was some of, like, the peak outside of Mike Leach, Pac-12 After Dark games to watch. But outside of that, like, it's been, I think, considering, like, his profile and what they paid him and the attention it got, I think it's been a complete failure.
Tyson Alger from the I-5 corridor joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. We dove into it a little bit. Now, one thing we try not to do, Tyson, on this show, we don't do politics, right? I'm not smart enough. People don't care enough. And all of a sudden, this baseball stadium thing somehow, some way crept into the dark, gross world that I don't want to dive into. But then it's interesting that, a week after we saw, like, is it Lloyd Center? Did they lose City Hall? And what's going on with Red? And all of a sudden in that week, the mayor of the city of Las Vegas in Super Bowl week is like, yeah, hey, A's, I don't think you guys should leave. I don't think you should break up with your girlfriend, Oakland, because we're a little busy. This is not, like, what's going to happen with the A's? I would love it. And again, I don't particularly like stealing another team, but you know what? If that's the way it's going to go, it's the way it's going to go. But are the A's back in play again, do you think? Or is this just one more Lucy football, Portland baseball, we all fall on our butts again?
I don't know, man. It's the tough thing with, like, the A's is, like, if they're going to move, like, if they're going to move in, the immediacy, like, you got to build a park here pretty soon, right? And with the Diamond Project's proposed thing that they want to do down at Red Tail, like, that doesn't, even if that thing works with the way that they think it would, which I think would be an absolute traffic nightmare, as we've discussed, and it's kind of far out there, but even if it works, it's like, I feel like that's a project that's going to be years away from completion, and it's just, they're talking about this cycle and hitting it, but it's like, Portland's so behind kind of everyone else, like, they don't even own the land yet. So I want baseball here as much as the next person. I would like to be optimistic, but I don't think that anything that I've heard in the last week makes me more optimistic than I was leading into the week.
Tyson Alger from the I-5 corridor joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Tyson, let's dive into it. We got the Super Bowl coming up. You mentioned kind of that sweet spot in terms of trying to attract subscriptions. They hit that with the halftime show. Let me tell you, because I am the generation that the Usher bullseye hit in terms of the halftime show. But at the I-5 corridor Super Bowl party, what's the spread like? What are we going with? You go. I know you're a hot sauce guy. You're a hot sauce connoisseur. You go wings, you nachos. What's the spread at the I-5 corridor Super Bowl party?
Justin, I wish you could have been at the Pac-12 championship game with us because we were stuck on the media shuttle for like 2 hours because the Usher concert at the media hotel was getting out, and it was the last one of his residency, and it was madness. Anyways. The Alger Super Bowl spread, I usually do some chicken thighs because like that's a pretty easy. We host a Super Bowl party every few years or so, and chicken thighs is something that like you can cook the heck out of them, and you can feed a lot of people, and you're not going to really burn them. Sometimes I'll do a pulled pork, but then like I'm like hey, you're coming to my house. I'm providing the main thing. Like you guys bring all the spread, like the sides.
Yeah.
And so I have some nice, generous friends who are better cooks than I am anyway. So it's a nice potluck atmosphere.
Man, potlucks were the spot back in the day. Like, and then you learned like the one thing you learned at like potlucks though was like how some of your friends' family had some weird stuff. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like you would go to that Friday school potluck, and it's like, I thought this was potato salad. Why is there raisins in this? Like, what is going on in the? I'm making up a name in the Smith household, right? What is going on with these particular like? This is not potato salad. This has got weird stuff in it. Or I remember I saw stuffing on a Thanksgiving potluck, Tyson, that had apples in it. I'm like, what are we doing here? And you learn real quick like how weird, or the Miracle Whip families. And I apologize if that was your family, but there were the Miracle Whip families, and you're like, that's not mayo. That's weird.
The thing is, though, is if you are a Miracle Whip family, I think you just have to wear that one, though. Like I think it's you've accepted your fate.
So you go over to your buddy's house for a tuna sandwich, and is like, what is this? Like, what are you talking about?
Or, yeah, like you'd have some friends when you were kids who like they'd like, hey, like come over for a sleepover, and you're like, like their mom makes eggs weird. Like I don't like maybe we just play games, man. Like,
and then we just go back. I remember peanut butter on pancakes, which is delicious, but like it wasn't how I had it. Like peanut butter on pancakes, that was what the Shockies across the street. Shout out to Joel Allen Court. But yeah, so I go over sleepover, got pancakes the next day. It's like, why was there peanut butter on the table?
The Chapmans would put actual real blueberries in their pancakes, and we were the artificial Jiffy blueberry like sugar capsules pancakes family. And I still think that's actually the superior pancake. So get those real blueberries out of my face.
There we go. You know what you need to put in your face? The I-5 corridor. That's right. You need to be subscribing to the I-5 corridor. Subscriptions on the momentum. Just like Rip City Mornings, momentum, I-5 corridor, building and building and building. You want to be part of the movement, people. So go to the I-5 corridor. Follow Tyson on X or Twitter, whatever you like to call it. It's at Tyson Alger, and you can hear him from time to time on this particular radio show. Tyson, hey, have a great week. Enjoy the Super Bowl. We'll talk to you next week, bud.
Yeah, you too, buddy.
There we go, Tyson Alger. Yeah, man, you go to like, that's like, talk about like rite of passage. Either like community potluck, and you're like, who brought this ambrosia salad? What is this?
Oh, ambrosia's delicious.
You like the ambrosia?
Oh yeah, it's delicious.
Would you bring it to a potluck?
Oh yeah.
Maybe that was the Slaughter family. It was like
no, I've only found it at like salad bars.
It's not that it's bad, but like like when you're a kid, you're like that's different, and I'm not even a picky eater, but it's like that's the
thing
different.
that stands out to me the most is
it's raisins and potato salad. What are we doing?
People who put their syrup in the fridge.
Yeah.
That was one. Like,
who is that?
I remember. Well, one of my buddies I stayed the night over was like, "Oh yeah, the syrup's cold. It's out of the fridge." And I never could understand that in my life because at my house it was like pour it in a little thing and warm it up in the microwave.
and we've had this debate, like the butter right? Does butter go in the fridge or does butter go on the table and blah, blah, blah. There's the ketchup, like there's the room temperature ketchup and all that. Syrup in the fridge.
Totally, 100%.
That they say, like, moving like cold molasses, like syrup's darn near molasses. Like, it's a phrase.
Totally. I've seen
That's
multiple
negative.
people do it, actually.
All right. We got the RCM mailbag. We may dive into this again, but we got the RCM mailbag coming up next. Wrap up the big show, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, let's wrap up the big show. We do that the same way each and every day with the RCM mailbag. Random questions, any subject, any topic. Nothing is off limits, and we do not duck the tough questions. Won't do it. Never have, never will, and it won't start today. Not on my watch. So let's open up the mailbag. Here we go.
Diving into our side dishes yesterday.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what your favorite side dishes are for Super Bowl and and just for fun, what's something that would never
probably posting on social media. Might be my first post in a while. What's yours? What's your go-to side? We talked about how you like to